Welcome to the DNA show.
DNA? Dude, are we doing a science show?
No, D is for Dennis.
Oh, A is for Andy.
And N is for and?
Oh, man, nerds.
Oh, yeah.
We're nerds, dude.
Yeah. Well, good. Then we can talk about comics and movies and pop culture and sports.
Sports. Sports and nerds. Yeah, we're going to make that work.
All right, let's roll.
You know what that is, Dennis?
Well, it sounds like graduation time to me.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. It is that graduation time of year. And even though we're in the midst of this COVID crisis lockdown where graduations aren't, happening and stuff, people are finding different ways to celebrate. And I was reminded of it. My daughter graduates next year, so it's not really top of mind. But our neighbor across the street had a sign company come out and put the big, letters up in the yard.
Yep.
That spelled out, graduation day and their granddaughter's name and stuff. And then later in the day, because I work at my studio was set up to where I could see right out a window. So I saw, them taking pictures of their granddaughter, and she was in her cap and gown and stuff. And it got me thinking back to 1987 when I graduated high school.
Wow, you're old.
When did you graduate?
88.
Bastard.
So you're way older.
Okay. One, our birthday's the same year. Two, it's only separated by a month. So how in the hell? I guess your parents thought you were dumb and held you back. That's okay, Dennis. You're smart in my eyes.
No, it just had to do with the birthdays.
Once again,
they figured I need to come up and help them.
I'm November. You're December.
Yep.
What's that have to do with the birthdays?
You're asking me how they figured out that I was too little to worry about that.
You failed kindergarten. You had
Not
to
at
repeat
all.
Kindergarten. First grade.
Nope, no
You had to
failing.
repeat a grade.
Nope, never.
It's okay to admit it.
No, never.
Whatever. Anyhow, so I graduated in 1987, and it must be kismet because my wife was doing some cleaning over the weekend, and she found an envelope labeled Andy and Matt's report cards. Matt's my brother. Now, why I have the envelope that has our report cards and my brother doesn't, I don't know, but I figured I'd dig through them, and I found my senior report card.
Oh.
So I thought I could go down memory lane and run down some of my grades. I'm also going to run down grades for my junior year because the senior year, well, first I'll run down the grades. Final grades, senior year, were an A, that was art, needless to say.
Go figure.
Go figure. I got a B in grammar and composition, a B in literature, and then underneath that is A. Now you're sitting there and you're going, whoa, that's a 3.8 grade point average. That's pretty solid. Well, I will say that those final 4 A's, the teacher's last name, I don't remember the first name, but the last name was Byers. And where I went to school when you were a senior, if you completed all your courses that you had to take, you were allowed to do work study for the rest of the day.
Really?
So what that means is, for my senior year, I took art because it was an elective. I'm an artist. It's what I enjoyed doing. So I didn't take it as an easy A. So I took it because it was basically a class. My teacher saw what I liked to do and my talent. And she basically, as a senior, let me just work on my portfolio. So I did a lot of comic book type art stuff. I had to take grammar and composition. And I had to take literature. Other than that, I had all my math out of the way, my science, my history. All that stuff was that all the requirements were done.
Wait, so you didn't have math your senior year?
No.
Wow.
I had it. In my junior year.
So you just took the minimum amount of math.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Now, as a junior, I finished math, and they said, when I was setting up my schedule as a senior, they said, do you want to continue in math? And I said, well, what would it be? And they said it'd be trigonometry. And I said, no, because I'm going to be a comic book artist. don't need trigonometry.
Who
Thank you
needs
very
math
much.
to be an artist? That's what you're thinking.
Exactly. And then history, same thing. Whatever history as a senior would have been, I was like, well, do I have enough credits to pass without taking it? They're like, yep. I said, no, thank you. So I took work study. And what work study is you had to have a job and you got to leave 2 periods early to go to that job. And you had to, your employer would check in with the teacher, which was this Mr. Byers. I remember it was a guy, so Mr. Byers. And the first 2 classes were all about working, and I don't remember what they taught, but it was about working and, being in the real world and stuff. And then after that, you'd go to your job for the rest of the day.
Huh.
And you got school credit, but you had to have a job. And, the employer had to check in with the school. You had to provide. Now, you didn't have to work every day after school, but you had to work a certain amount of hours. I think it was maybe 15 hours a week. And I was working, I think I worked at a Subway restaurant during that time. I worked at a Wendy's during the school year. So it was fast food stuff is where I worked. So that explains the bunch of A's that I got. So it's not like I was like, rocking real classes. It was, hey, he went to work. Give him an A.
Well, that's kind of what it felt like you were saying. No, I was a little bit different. I took, so like for our math, it was freshman year was algebra. Then he went to geometry your sophomore year. Then advanced algebra your junior year. And then we had what we called advanced senior math if you went up there, but that was your calc and trig and all that kind of stuff rolled into one. Right. So I was more of a STEM kid. The science, tech, engineering, mathematics, before STEM was really a thing. I was going to say,
they didn't have STEM back
then.
Right.
But that was basically it. It was the same thing. 4 years of science. I did the 4 years of math and stuff like that.
I think back then it was just called geek. I just don't remember what
it was nerd.
meant.
Yeah, it was nerd.
Well, I mean, geometry.
There's a reason why we're doing this now.
Geometry, economics, what's another E? Electronics, and calculus spelled with a K.
Yeah, I had it all. It was true. But you went down one path of geek, and I went down the other path.
Totally. So what were what grades do you remember?
Oh yeah. So I got I was advanced senior math. It was a B. Physics was a B. Most of my classes I got A's in, except for the harder ones. But I'm going to be honest. Back then, I didn't exactly try. I never. So in 4 years of high school, I think I had homework 2 days in 4 years.
I mean, Dennis, it's okay to have a B. You don't have to say I didn't try, and if I did, I could have gotten it.
No, I'm just saying that some people I knew, they brought home homework. They did it 3-4 hours a night.
Oh, no.
I never took homework.
No,
my parents don't you have homework? I'm like, nope, did it in school. However, I always made sure I took a study hall. So if I needed it, I would take care of everything. And then, like, my sophomore, junior year, Mrs. Wolf, she was in charge of the library. Well, I would go in. I'd be done anyway. And then, because I was a good student, and that was when MTV was a thing, so they had a back corner, and there were certain ones of us that she would let go in, and we would watch MTV when we went for an hour into the library. So, like, Europe, the final countdown, when that came out, I remember watching it. I watched the space shuttle accident live on TV because I happened to be in there watching TV when it got cut in. But yeah, I mean, that's what we did. I didn't really need study hall either, but I had it, so I never had to take homework. I did homework in school when I could. And when I did have homework, this is where my brother and I were total opposites. When I had homework, as soon as I got home from school, I dug it out and I did it because I wanted it done. I wanted it done. I wanted it out of the way. So like our school would get out at around 3 o'clock. I'd be home around 3:30. I'd get my homework done around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So the rest of my night I had off. Whereas my brother would come home, screw around, do his homework, maybe not, so totally different.
I did. So I had my junior year report card here, which is probably more of a good indicator because I had so just running it down. I had Spanish. I got an A.
Oh,
now
I had French.
what? Oh my God, that's like one of the hardest ones. See, when I had to take,
They're both languages of love, so to speak, so they're very similar.
No, because I remember I had to take 1 year of a language to pass. So I said, "What's the easiest language?" They said Spanish. I said, "Sign me up."
See, we only had Spanish and French as an option. I asked about Klingon. They said Klingon was not an option, so I had to go French.
We had Spanish, French, Latin, and I think German. So I went Spanish because, once again, they said it was the easiest. And it was rather easy because I got an A. And it was so easy, actually, they said, "My God, you got an A. Do you want to take this as a senior?" And you know my philosophy. Did I take the requirement to pass? They said yes. I said no, I do not. And they said, "But we could literally move you to Spanish 3. You could skip Spanish 2 because you did so well." And I said, "Okay, did you not hear me? Did I not take this just to pass high school? I'm done. Thank you." I don't remember any of it. So Spanish. And then I've got a B in something which I'm not exactly sure because the initials are INTDIS. And it is not interior design. So I don't know what it is, but I got a B. I got a C in 1 quarter. So obviously I didn't do well in 1 quarter. In grammar comp, I got a C.
International dissertation?
Just definitely not. No, not at all. So I got a C in that. American Lit, I got a C. 19th century U.S. history, I got a C. Let's see. 20th century U.S. history, I got a B.
Nice.
That's closer to home, 20th century U.S. history. So I got a B. Fine arts, I got an A, art, basically.
Of course.
So got an A in art. And then in geometry, I got an A. So I rocked the 3.25 grade average. But that is more in a line because there was no work study and any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, all through high school, I basically got a mid 3.0 grade point average. I totally shit the bed on my SAT. I don't remember my score. I know it was just average, and I know I shit the bed on it because my parents made me take it, even though I was already accepted. I wasn't accepted into the school yet, the art school I went to, but I went to an art school, trade school, so you didn't need any testing to get into the school.
See, and we didn't have the SAT.
So I was just
our option was the ACT at the school I went to, and that was the only option.
Well, we had that as well.
Yeah, but we didn't have an SAT.
Oh, okay. So, I went into it sleepy, not wanting to do it, not caring. I'm sure if I tried and even studied, I could have done better, but I knew where I wanted to go, so I didn't care. Looking back on it, if I could do it again, knowing I was still going to go to art school and everything, I do wish I would have studied and really worked at it to see what I could have got on the SAT if I tried. But, oh well. C'est la vie.
Oh, well, that was a nice little flashback.
Graduation this time. I'm happy for everybody that graduated.
Yep, I saw.
It is an accomplishment.
We saw something really cool. It was across the street. We were on our way over to go eat at Jalapenos since everything's kind of back open. And we looked, and there was a traffic jam to the left as far as we could see, and a traffic jam to the right as far as we could see. And we're like, well, sure. I wonder what's going on. So we wound up having to park in Walmart, walk all the way across, and we're like, what are all these cars are even in the parking lot? Is there an accident? Nope. It was Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme? I love Krispy Kreme.
Yep. It was through the drive-thru because the inside of the store is not open yet. And they were backed up as far as you could see both directions. I'm like, why are they here? So, of course, when we sat down, we had to Google it. They were giving away 12 free donuts for all of the graduates who came dressed in their cap and gown.
Oh, nice.
And literally, as we're walking down, you can see them all. So people were waiting in line for hours for a dozen free donuts.
I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either, but I suppose, as a high schooler, for a dozen free donuts, how much gas wasting, but to them it was worth it. But go graduates.
Now, do you still have your tassel?
I should, yeah, my tassel,
I know
the letter.
I know. You got it.
Yeah, I lettered.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do anything to letter.
You didn't do sports?
What did you do?
Football, track and field, and no, I was the field part of track.
I was a nerd. I did not do sports. No, I don't have a letter. I have my tassel. I know exactly where it is. The one thing I didn't get, and I look back on it and kind of wish I did, is the ring. My senior class ring. I didn't get a senior class. Oh, you did?
I did.
Does it still fit?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it fits on my pinky.
Yeah. You know where that is?
Yeah. Yep, I have that.
At the house, you mean?
Sure.
Your tassel too, or is your tassel with your parents?
My tassel is probably in a graduation box up in the attic. My ring is not. I have that with my other rings.
I wish that's probably the only regret I have is I do wish I had a ring. I didn't go to prom. Still have no regret about that. Don't care. Didn't care then. Don't care now. Yeah. So that's high school times.
Well, congratulations to all the graduates.
That's right. Congrats, guys. I would like to. I believe we have a Tiger King update.
There is some great stuff started coming out with Tiger King.
What do we got, Dennis? Tiger King.
So,
is he still in jail?
Oh yeah, he's still in jail.
Damn, poor Joe.
I know. But what was interesting for those of us who listen to our Tiger King podcast, we got very invested, like a lot of America did in this, just because we were locked in. It was an interesting, bizarre story. But it all boiled down to, did Carol kill her husband for his money and property? And when we were talking about it, it wound up being our personal opinions based on the facts that we saw in the quote-unquote documentary, was, based on his lawyer and stuff, when Carol suddenly produced the new will that gave her full ownership, where it said, in case I disappear or die, right. Which he said it's never included. It's, in case I die kind of thing, it would happen. Right. So he goes, none of this made sense, that he would never do this, because even his lawyer was like, nope, it didn't happen. But she goes, oh, I got the document to prove it. I mean, it's mine. Well, they had an update from the sheriff, and they're now saying that will document, the signature on the document, is a forgery.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. So I guess you and I aren't really surprised, because as we were talking, we're like, there's no way this mysterious document, because it was stolen from the locked trailer,
Jesus,
was suddenly going to show up in her thing and be completely different than what his lawyer had written up. So it made no sense. So we kind of knew it, but apparently they must have run it through forensics and stuff, and they are now saying it is indeed a forgery.
So it's almost like with her, one step forward, two steps back. Because the other update is, I just read that the feds have given her control of the zoo in Oklahoma. So it's not
the original zoo.
Well, the one that's owned by the guy from Vegas.
Yeah.
Whose name is escaping me now.
Yeah.
But the guy from Vegas that came in. And
after Tiger King went
to jail, the guy from Vegas and his younger wife, they had to, they have a new baby and stuff. They gave her, Carol Baskin, the ownership or whatever of the zoo, and that guy from Vegas has a certain amount of time. I want to say 120 days to vacate.
Huh. Now that's interesting.
It's just weird.
Yeah, there's so
that is just
much.
They definitely have enough for season 2. I mean, we already know that Nicolas Cage has been cast for a TV movie, but
which I can't wait.
Oh my god!
Just to have Nicolas Cage back, who, by the way, is an avid comic book collector.
That's right. I still think David Spade, when he was Joe Dirt, would be a great Tiger King as well.
Oh, he literally could just put on the same hairpiece. Yeah, literally.
But Nicolas Cage, that's good.
Yeah,
I think Nicolas Cage, though, I don't know, in stature, he just looks a little too big for Tiger King.
I haven't seen Nick in a while. Maybe
Well, it's not like he shrunk.
Maybe he did. Maybe he's lost all this weight for the role, and he puts on extra eyeliner. I don't know. It's going to be fun to see what they do with it.
Well, in other Tiger King news, there is now going to be a Tiger King comic book biography.
We knew this was coming.
You had to know it. It's by Tidal Wave Productions. It is set for release on June 24th in both print and digital formats. 24-page comic book written by Michael Frizzell and drawn by Joe Paradise, with colors by Pablo Martina. That just cracks me up. Right now, the world needs a distraction, reads Tidal Wave's description. Perhaps that's why we're collectively riveted to Netflix's Tiger King, a murder mystery resembling an episode of a news magazine Dateline. Tiger King introduced the world to the flamboyant Joe Exotic, a former magician, country singer, and zookeeper with a troubled past. He is currently sitting in jail for planning to murder his rival big cat rescue owner, animal rights activist Carol Baskin. So, it's just, it's called The Infamous Tiger King. The cover is a takeoff on a cover from an issue of Amazing Spider-Man that Mike Zeck drew that featured Kraven the Hunter. I think it looks good.
They've got several different versions of the cover.
Yep.
And so, one of them's got Tiger King and Carol. Of course, Tiger King's wielding his 2 pistols. And there's a really cool one with an actual tiger that looks very colorful, like comic book pages, as the stripes. And he's got a Tiger King on, which looks pretty cool.
And there's
one is reminiscent of like Calvin and Hobbes.
I was going to say, yeah, it's reminiscent of Calvin and Hobbes, and it's drawn by a friend of mine named Joe Phillips, is the artist on it. I don't know. I think it's entertaining. I love good parody stuff. Well, this is based on real life, so I'll be interested to see how it looks.
Yep. It also includes a page, a treatment for how the animals were treated, written by the Peter Foundation director.
Yep.
So, if you're a PETA fan, they'll have something in there for you. And we all know that he did not treat his animals the way that he said he did.
No, not at all. So there's your Tiger King update. Touched on some real news, touched on a comic book coming out based on him, which you knew had to happen. And like any good reporter, we will stay on the story.
Update time. Well, speaking of updates, something we haven't talked a lot about. It's Star Trek has announced, CBS did, Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
This is our 3rd Star Trek show.
Off of CBS's, I guess we could call it their prime timeline.
Yeah, all access. Because the first one was Discovery. And then Picard.
Yep, and then Picard, which is going on right now. And Discovery's got their 3rd season.
Third season's out or coming up?
It's being worked on.
And Picard, first season's a wrap.
It's a wrap, and they've announced the 2nd season.
Oh, they have? Okay.
Yep.
As you can tell, I don't watch any of this stuff because I'm too cheap to pay for CBS All Access.
Yeah. Plus, you're not the biggest Star Trek Star Wars fan.
I'm not the biggest Star Trek or Star Wars fan. If it was on TV for free, I'd watch it.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity. But if I didn't like it, I would stop watching it. Whereas, Dennis, I assume it would have to be really, 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 really super bad for you to not watch it.
Yes, and it was close. Wait,
which one?
Discovery.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like first season at all.
Oh, so season 2 they redeemed themselves.
Started to.
Okay.
And then actually they finished up by jumping into the future. Something like 800 or 900 years into the future. So season 3 is going to take place far beyond any other Star Trek series.
So wait, same cast?
Yep, because
the cast travel,
right?
Okay.
All except somehow Spock. Now I guess it could be because Spock's going to be in Strange New Worlds, but this is going to take place beforehand. So Strange New Worlds, everybody knows. So the Enterprise came out. Captain Pike had its basically 5-year mission, so they were doing their missions. And then Captain Kirk took over and went on through their 5. So the first 3 years were the original TV show, and then they continued on from there. So this is going to take place in between It looks like Discovery and the original series with Captain Kirk.
The original series was Captain Kirk. But
Correct.
Pike was actually the captain before Kirk.
Correct.
But he was only in the original series. Pike was actually in the first episode, wasn't he, or no?
So,
Or was he in the pilot?
The pilot, which was called The Cage, basically,
Right.
that was Captain Pike. They wound up, CBS did not pick it up at that time. It would have been NBC who was doing it, and it didn't care. Do you know who the person who actually got Star Trek to be made was?
Gene Roddenberry. No, I know. He created it. But no, who got it? No, I have no idea.
It was a Desilu production, if that tells you anything.
Really? Desilu and Lucille Ball?
It was Lucille Ball who actually said, I will be the one to fund it and do it and produce it and brought it forward. So, yeah, we have Lucille Ball to thank for that.
Oh, I love her.
Yep. So we were excited. So, yeah. So you see him in the original episode and then in the Menagerie when he had the deformity and it was a different actor and everything because Jeffrey Hunter was it.
Right.
So, yeah. So this one's going to take place. So we got to see the Enterprise in little bits and pieces, particularly the ending of Discovery before it goes off into the future. And the second season was all about Captain Pike takes control of the Discovery for the season.
Right.
And the negatives really on Discovery was it really isn't Star Trek. It's gritty, it's grimy, it's depressing. That's not what Star Trek is.
Right.
And none of the characters act like real Starfleet, personnel. They just don't until we got Captain Pike. And he did such a good job, played by Anson Mount, did a great job with it. And we get to see the Enterprise towards the end in
cool.
some detail, and it looks great.
I was going to say, so does Enterprise, because technology is different now from the original show in the 60s, does Enterprise look like the one in the 60s?
So,
or did they update it a little bit because of what we can do now?
They did, and they actually explain a little bit about it, because think about it. From what it looked like in the 60s, that was 60s technology. It's updated, but like during one of the original criticisms of Discovery was, when in the original Star Trek, they had the view screen.
Right.
And that's what they viewed on it. While all of a sudden Discovery, which is older, we have holographic imagery and everything sitting down there. And you're
so
like,
they have better tech.
Way better.
That wasn't developed yet going by the Star Trek world.
Right. It made no sense.
Right.
So they tried to justify it and saying, we're having problems with the tech. So the Enterprise had the holographic imagery removed, which is what they were saying.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so
hysterical.
It wound up being really kind of poor writing, but they at least tried to find a way to make it. So they made it even a further jump back, and then they revamped the looks of it, and we've got to see pictures of what it looks like now. And it's very much kind of like the feel of the original Enterprise. It is updated, so they're actual, like, full-blown screens that you can see stuff on, not just like pictures, like a photo, and it just gets moved across, because that's what the technology.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they really did a nice job. Now, it's not the original Enterprise. It looks different.
Right.
It's at least 25% bigger or so. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the same production, but it looks really nice. And the big point behind Strange New Worlds is they're going to try and bring back the optimistic feeling and everything like that of Star Trek, because they've lost it in both of these
I might have to give that a shot then, because I do like what's the actor's name plays Pike?
Anson Mount. So we knew him from Inhumans.
Black Bolt, baby.
Right.
Here's what I'm thinking. They do an episode where the Enterprise goes to the moon and they run into the Inhumans. And he plays Black Bolt as well.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that is very cool.
Yeah, we'll try and post a screenshot of what the Enterprise bridge looks like and stuff. He's great, and
he's great.
Yes, I love him as an actor, and he nailed it. So the cool thing is, it was they've got three main people that are already.
Wait. Who played Pike in the first Star Trek movie? The reboot that came out a few years back. Do you remember?
Oh,
come on! Nope. Chris Hemsworth, baby, Thor.
Huh?
In the Star Trek movie, the first Star Trek movie that came out that introduced Kirk from a few years ago, when they showed Pike, it was Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth was George Kirk, Captain Kirk's dad. That was not Pike. No, because he dies. That's Captain Kirk's dad. That's why the wife's on there giving birth. They wind up naming him James Tiberius.
Oh, that's right.
That's George Kirk. Dude!
Damn.
We need a Star Trek, but there was no Pike in that.
Oh, there wasn't?
No.
Oh.
Well, you see Pike later on when you get Kirk in there.
Well, it has been like 7 years. It was before he played Thor, so it's been a while.
Right.
Give me some... But I wouldn't mind watching it because I really did like that movie a lot, actually. So it was Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, it's George
Kirk's dad before he got all buffed
right,
up.
and it was George. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Because there were other. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to do a marathon when I get back, so that you can do.
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
No, Anson Mount's Captain Pike.
Yeah.
Rebecca Romaine is number 1.
That's awesome.
And she was in a little bit in there, and we liked her character.
Now,
she
number
looks
1.
great.
I mean, how does that relate to what? Was there a number 1 in the Shatner Star Trek?
No, but there was a number 1 in Next Generation because William Riker was number 1, and that's just what they call it. So it's your first officer or your number 1. I think it's just terminology and what they use.
Now, I know you don't watch DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
I watched the first season,
okay.
But that's his.
So last week's or 2 weeks ago, the season finale was last week or 2 weeks ago. Whatever. Point is, they did an episode where I love stuff like this, where the cast or the crew, the legends, jump from different like sitcoms and TV shows. And one of them, they did a Star Trek parody where White Canary was the Kirk character.
Okay.
And her girlfriend in the show, who heads up the Time Bureau, was Spock.
Okay.
And it was for the little bit of time they showed on the ship and stuff. It was great.
Oh,
yeah, you got to go back
and watch it. Yes,
it's the third to last episode of the season. So,
okay.
Yeah, I thought of you immediately when I saw it.
Cool. And they got Ethan Peck. He's going to play Spock. So those are the only 3 they've announced.
And he's going to play
Spock from same one from Discovery. And now, I didn't like.
Is that supposed to be like literally Spock, as in
yes,
as in Leonard Nimoy Spock?
Yes,
it's the same character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
he plays him again. I didn't like what they did when they first got him into Discovery. Again, there's just a lot of issues with the writing and what they did with it. But I thought he grew into the character, and by the time the series wrapped up, and then you see him get the traditional haircut, he not only looks like him, I thought he grew into the Spock character pretty well. And so I'm kind of looking forward to see what they're going to wind up doing with him. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to give it hope. Now, the question is it going to be made? So they announced Section 31
that looks really good.
Because Michelle Yeoh was going to be the lead actress for Section 31.
Wait, what's Section 31?
That's the deep, if you want to call it like the deep state that you've been hearing about in the Star Trek universe or the Undercover.
So wait, is that a different TV show you mean? Or?
Yes, it was going to be a new TV show because that was tied into it, which we learned from some of the original Star Trek, from Deep Space Nine and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, it got announced and there's been nothing, and I don't know if it's ever going to really happen because, again, that's going to be this really dark, gritty underside. And Star Trek people, we're kind of tired of it. We want the optimism, what the Federation represents, the beacon of hope. We need that kind of stuff.
Well, and I assume in this new one with Pike, they'll have the classic uniforms and classic updated.
Right, it's exactly what it is, and they look good. I'm looking forward to. I will absolutely give it a chance because we want it to be in the vein of the original series, the original Gene Roddenberry's original vision, not what they've been doing right now. So we're hopeful. We're hopeful. It looks good. I think it all depends on the writing. The writing is going to be the key to this.
No, that's cool. I might have to check it out because I guess for me in Star Trek, I like the original stuff. And when they did do all the, even back in the, I guess it was the 90s when they did the offshoots and stuff. I just didn't care. In fact, the only one that I actually watched, and you'll remember the title of it, Star Trek whatever, is the one where Scott Bakula played the captain.
Oh, Enterprise, yeah.
That was called Enterprise?
It's called Enterprise.
I like that. And I watched that because I love Scott Bakula.
Yep.
Quantum Leap, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Love
all the
that
way.
show.
Yep, I love that show, too. One season, I think problem with Enterprise was...
It lasted, only 2 years?
It was a prequel. No, it was 4 seasons.
Oh.
But it was one of these things. It's just like the current Star Trek. Here's something that happened, and the entire season's going to be, dwelling on it. Versus, instead of having 1 or 2 episodes for a story, and it just went off the rails a little bit. And then Manny Coden, he wound up coming in. He wound up going off to do 24, but he came in season 4, completely turned it around, and you get introduced to all the original Star Trek. So the Tholians, you actually get to really meet first Tholians. As they start digging into the original, the Gorns were amazing. They have a Mirror Universe 2-part episode that's just the bomb. It was probably the best season of Star Trek ever. But it had lost so many of the fans because they had such a miserable season.
Where did that take place in the timeline then? If it was called Enterprise?
Well, it was the original Enterprise, the NXL-1. It was the first Warp 5 ship.
So it was before
Kirk. Way before Kirk.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
yeah,
because that was almost...
Archer, that was the captain, was actually the founder of the United Federation of Planets.
But that show was what, from the early 2000s?
Yeah, Enterprise, I don't remember off the top of my head if it's late 90s, early 2000s, but it's right in there.
Yeah, okay. Because I do remember watching some of it because of Bakula. On another good news front in regards to entertainment stuff, I just heard that Australia is opening back up with filming.
Ooh.
So Batman apparently is able to start production again, the new Batman movie. A couple others. I heard WandaVision is getting back into production.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing what Marvel's going to be doing. We got a little information on the WandaVision one because they announced. So she's got all these manipulative powers for reality.
Yeah, she can warp in a way reality to what she wants.
Right. And apparently in this, the first half of the season, it's kind of like Leave It to Beaver World. Right. And it's very reminiscent of the Vision miniseries that they did a number of years ago, which looks cool. But they announced, because they talk about her relative that's in it, and it looks like it's going to be Quicksilver.
Yep.
So we all know the Quicksilver from the movie, but the interesting...
From the Avengers Marvel Universe one.
Correct. The interesting twist is they've cast somebody, but which Quicksilver did they cast?
They cast, I can't remember the actor's name, but it's Evans. They cast the guy from the X-Men movies.
Right. And everybody loved that version of it.
Yeah, he was great.
Yep. We loved every scene that he was in on it.
Well, he stole the movies. He was just so good.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's who it looks like is going to wind up playing Quicksilver or a version of him in there. So they're kind of combining the two universes, but it's probably because she has manipulated or twisted the reality where that's how they're going to get it to do it. I think it's quite ingenious and it brings the fans what they want.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Speaking of that actor, he also stars in American Horror Story on FX. He's been in like almost every season playing, a different character because American Horror Story is like an anthology show where every season they reuse the cast, but it's a brand new story, different characters generally, so on and so forth. And he's been in almost every season. Is it Evan Peters? Is that his name?
Yep.
Okay. He's been in almost every season. And just to show once again, I just love seeing actors play these different roles because I love Miss Quicksilver. There's not been one season of American, and I like American Horror Story, but he plays such unlikable characters in
all the time
season of American Horror Story. It's not, I watch it and I go, God, I know you're a cool dude because I've seen you in interviews and I love your Quicksilver, but God, you play such a dick character in every freaking season of American Horror Story.
See, and I've seen every season except for the Funhouse one. That one, I absolutely had no interest and I wound up skipping that one.
But last season, I believe, was the takeoff on the 80s slasher movie, because it was at a lake and stuff. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I thought that was that was good. And
I've enjoyed almost all.
Well, some seasons they do get you into the scare factor.
Yeah.
Which they should. It's called American Horror Story. However, that season last year wasn't really scary. It was fun. I mean, it was serious, but it had more comedic stuff in it, I guess, for a show called American Horror Story.
Yeah.
You know who else is in that show and I can't remember her name, but she's the daughter of, oh my God, Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher's daughter's in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she was also in the last few Star Wars movies that Carrie Fisher was in as well.
Yeah, that
she had
I
the
knew.
buns on the side of her hair and everything.
Well, they know Kat Dennings is going to reprise her role as Darcy in it, so she's going to be making some appearances. I don't know if she's going to be an integral character or not from the Thor movies.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, in WandaVision. So I was like, ooh, can't wait to kind of see that.
That's really a weird crossover, throwing her into WandaVision.
Well, and she's not the only one, because we're going to get Monica Rambeau.
Right.
So we're like, is she, is Monica Rambeau?
Well, I assume it'll be an adult.
Right, I'm going to assume so too.
Well, she has to be, because timeline-wise, because when she was first introduced, it was 20 years ago.
But again, she's warping reality, so they can do whatever they want. But is she going to be just Monica as Monica, or is she going to be Captain Marvel, or one of the incarnations? I don't know, but so they've introduced herself. This is going to be interesting, but this is going to be the launching pad for all of the other series, I think that's
and that one drops. WandaVision is fall of this year.
In theory, I know they were pushing everything back, potentially.
But I haven't heard any of that pushback.
No, I haven't seen it either. Well, is that first or second? I think Falcon's actually first, isn't it?
No, that's the weird thing. That's late. That's late 2020.
All right, so it is. They've got WandaVision appearing first, and then
Falcon Winter Soldier, which apparently takes place right after Endgame.
Yeah.
Where Endgame left off. Loki is early 2021. What If, which is their animated show, and is the longest episodes, has 23 episodes, is late 2021, and then Hawkeye is also late 2021, which I don't believe they've even started filming that one.
No, I would say What If I'm really excited about, because I'm a big fan of the comics. All the different What Ifs. So I can't wait to see what they do. I almost wish that was
live action, but I understand that would jack the budget out so huge.
Yeah, they can't.
That I get it. It has to be animated, but I think some of the actors from the live action are going to be using their voices for the What If stuff.
Okay.
So that'll be kind of cool to hear that. So, and then, to be announced stuff with Marvel's Miss Marvel, which can be cool, Moon Knight, and the one I'm really looking forward to is She-Hulk, because I want to see who they cast, how they do it, because She-Hulk doesn't necessarily need to be CGI'd as a character like the Hulk did. Honestly, she doesn't. Because even in the comic books, the Hulk, you just look at the Hulk in the comics, and you're like, oh yeah, that dude needs to be CGI'd. Lou Ferrigno, as great as it was at the time, it just didn't pull it off. He just wasn't big enough.
But there's a reason. The Hulk in the comics is like 9 feet tall. Right. You just can't do it.
But in the comic books, She-Hulk, even from a drawing standpoint, has always just been drawn as basically a buff,
taller. She's
type
taller.
woman.
Really, if they got a 6.5 foot bodybuilder type woman, probably any of the wrestlers, American Gladiators.
Yeah, I think what they have to do is they either have to cast the actress that's going to play Jen. Is it Jen Walters? I think.
Yeah.
To play Jen Walters is She-Hulk's real name. They need to cast. Let's say they cast an actress to play She-Hulk as She-Hulk. So a really fit, tall actress. And then when she's not She-Hulk and she's Jen Walters, they do a little CGI like they did with Chris Evans as Skinny Cat, as skinny Steve Rogers. and they take her face and head and put it on a smaller actress's body, or they cast a regular actress, regular size actress, 5'5" person, and use her face and head on the buff She-Hulk type.
Well, I am thinking just a little bit opposite than you. I would go take a short character like Melissa Rauch's character from Big Bang Theory. A knight somewhere who's around 5 foot tall.
Melissa Rauch was blonde, right?
Yeah.
Married to who'd she marry?
Howard.
Howard, right?
Yeah. So she's 5 foot tall, but then you get somebody who kind of looks like her. The same type of face or something like that.
Two different actresses?
But two different actresses. And then you get somebody who's 6'3" and buff, and then when she turns it, you just go boop, and you have the other person. I mean, that's how you're economically going to do it and get it to look without CGI.
No, because I don't think the CGI part of swapping faces and stuff, like what they did with Chris Evans, is super expensive. I think the cost has come down. I think CGI stuff is more expensive with special effects. I don't know. I just
look at the original Hulk. That's what you're kind of comparing it with. I mean, you had David Banner, and then it was Lou Ferrigno. So I mean,
and in the face
actors.
there was nothing.
Right, but it worked. I mean, for not just its time.
But once again, the problem is with the Hulk, his face, his brow got bigger. Everything changed. With She-Hulk, comic book wise, her face doesn't really change. She just gets bigger.
Well, if you remember the very first issue where you see her shaping behind her, and then she's taller, her face does look a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. They could cast, say the actress you were talking about for Big Bang as Jen Walters, cast a different actress for She-Hulk, and then do some prosthetics on her face to get the look of the regular actress. I don't know.
All we can say is we're not making the decisions, but you got to keep it cost conscious because it is Disney Plus.
Moon Knight, I'm looking forward to.
Moon Knight's the big one,
as long as they cast it properly.
Yeah, Moon Knight is really the Marvel Universe's version of Batman, but he's kind of a schizo Batman, which is really kind of cool. Looking very much forward to that. What they're going to do with it. Hopefully, it winds up being well done.
Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, well, that's our time. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We will catch you later. Remember, you can check us out on iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud.
And then don't forget Facebook, our Facebook page, and you can always email us.
Dennis and Andy Show at yahoo.com.
We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye-bye.
Until next week, grab your 3D glasses.
Get your favorite comic books, roll them up, and put them in your back pocket the way you should treat comics.
Throw your pigskin up on the mantle. This is Dennis.
This is Andy. Later, friends.